All right.
Hello.
Welcome back to another episode of Convos with KEEGS. This is episode 67, day 19, I want to say, of the 30-day challenge I'm doing. I'm here with a very special guest, Nolan O'Connor.
How's it going?
Dude, do you remember when... So, to give a little backstory of Nolan real quick, we went on a backpacking trip to Southeast Asia for about 3.5 months in 2019, right before COVID started. But yeah, I mean, we can get all into that. But do you remember when we were recording podcasts in your grandma's basement?
Yeah, I do. It was a fun time. I mean, I think you, myself, and Lincoln did one, and it was good. I liked it. I had a good time with that.
Yeah. I remember you were saying, like when we would FaceTime, because you live in San Francisco now, you want to do the pod, but you want to do it when you're here so you could be on the mic. And
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to get into it. Hopefully we can get into a good flow state and get into some good stuff.
Let's get into Goggins.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about it. I just started a second book. I know you read the first one. Yeah, the first one, for people that don't know, is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. He's a used to be a Navy SEAL. He's really like a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
And his first book's all about, like winning the mindset game and all that. And his second book, which he just released, is more about like staying in that for the long term. So I'm digging it so far.
Interesting.
What do you have anything to say about the first book? Anything to take away?
Dude, the first book really changed my life. Because at that time when I read it, I was in Tahoe, and me and John Boy and Casey did a 75 hard challenge. And we read that book, and dude, like, imagine reading that book for the first time, not really knowing who Goggins is too much, and also doing a challenge with two of your best friends, having to go to the gym every day, no matter what, and listening to Goggins. Like, we would put on YouTube. Do you remember Gym Love, how they had the upstairs mat and the TV? Yeah. Bro, we would put on Goggins and do yoga.
Dude, whatever it takes, man. I mean,
right?
That's what motivation's all about. I mean, you're not always going to be motivated, but I do find that stuff helps. Like, whether it's listening to someone like Goggins, or remember I used to listen to that Kevin Hart motivational video in the morning. It's just like that kind of stuff, it gives you the extra push sometimes. And yeah, it's if you need to do that, it works, 75 hard, that's 2 workouts, right? One indoor, one outdoor.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I tried that. I made it like 7 days. I didn't finish.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely kind of manipulated it a bit. So we were at the gym every day, and we ended up doing the challenge for like 150 days.
You added like 12 beers a day as well, right?
We were actually drinking these Lagunitas Hoppy Refreshers, which are dank, dude. They're non-alcoholic. But yeah, we manipulated it a bit. We still got 2 workouts in every day, whether it was cardio being one and weights being another, or yoga and weights. It was always 2 separate things. And on a lot of the days, me and John Boy and Casey would go out to the track, the high school track, and run. But it was during the winter, so it was fucking freezing.
Dude, that takes grit, man. The cold, like, it's one thing, like, waking up in the summertime and stepping outside, it's like already 70 degrees out by like 9 o'clock, and wearing shorts, you can go immediately get into a jog. But dude, when it is cold, it takes a different like level of commitment, I feel like.
For real.
Yeah, dude, I don't know if Goggins is a big like fan of the cold shower thing, but I know you have enjoyed it in the past.
Dude.
Cold showers versus like in the wintertime towards the summer is like a different animal. It's just like, yeah, that's what's good about the book, though. He talks about those mindsets and help you like, figure that stuff out. So
I would say cold showers have been a saving grace for me, honestly. It's one of my favorite parts of the day. The only thing is, like you said, in the winter versus summer, it's way different. But I really want to get a cold tub and do that in the mornings. Because I the other day I tried to do a cold shower right off the rip in the morning, and I swear to God, I think cold showers are harder than ice baths.
Yeah, they're tough, dude. Especially like stepping into it. It's just that mental battle. Like, you just go through, you're like, oh, like, why am I doing this? Like, there's no reason. But I think the best part of it is it like builds discipline. And as far as the ice bath go, I mean, oh man, I can't imagine in the wintertime, like stepping into that, like frozen, breaking ice. I've seen people do that.
Well, I think the reason I say it's easier is because the water temperature doesn't really change. Like now in Buffalo, if you go all the way cold, it's fucking cold. But it's the pressure of the shower head that's the difficult part for me. Because I can get in a bath, and if the water's steady and it's freezing, I'm still chilling. But when I hop into that shower and it's literally negative degrees, just pounding on my skin, I fucking hate it, dude.
Tough, especially like the ice cream headache you get. Like your head just goes numb. Yeah. It's so brutal.
Yeah. What practices have you been doing recently that similar to cold showers have kind of allowed you to bring you or ground you, I should say?
Yeah, I mean, so I fell out of cold showers for a while. A big thing for me, and you know, I guess this is a bit of an excuse, but what I've found with cold showers sometimes is, dude, my body like doesn't recover after always. So like sometimes I'll like take one. I actually tried one this morning after yoga, but I did like a minute and a half on my phone and then switched it to warm afterwards just to try and warm back up. Yeah. And I still found, dude, like I don't know how to explain it, but I just my core body temperature doesn't feel like it recovers throughout the day. Like sometimes, like I just like go about my day, and some people like say that they, you know, are more tolerant to the cold, but I feel even worse sometimes. So
really,
so I haven't been. Sometimes I'll do cold showers when I feel like I need like a good like mental exercise, for lack of a better word. But I don't know. I go back and forth with that stuff because I think when it comes to productivity, I mean that's discipline and productivity. I feel like is what those practices are about, and you know, I've gone back and forth because sometimes I feel like when it comes to productivity, there's a lot of people out there that like want to prescribe all these things, like wake up, meditate 10 minutes, cold shower, like work out all before, you know, 7 o'clock. And while all that is really good and great disciplines, like I feel like what matters the most is, are you, you know, what kind of output do you have? And
yeah.
I've like kind of tried both, like maintaining strict disciplines and kind of just diving right into trying to be productive. And I try to find a balance, you know. So some days it'll be like, you know, I wake up if I feel groggy or something, like I think I always go to the gym. The gym's like a no-brainer, but if I feel groggy sometimes, like I'll jump in the cold shower, or I think a good one for me is also just taking a walk. Like
that's huge.
I forget where I learned about this, but apparently when you walk, your eyes, you know, your eyes are scanning left to right when you're walking because you're observing your surroundings as you move forward through space. And I think what that does is it kind of cools and calms your mind down a little bit because it gives you the feeling of like, oh, I'm like progressing or I'm doing something. It keeps you alert. Whereas when you wake up immediately and just like lay around, maybe you check your phone right off the bat, you know, that sets the tone for the day. So
totally.
Walks have been big. You know, I don't do them every day, but when I do, I notice that I feel better. Sunshine, that's a good one. So,
bro,
I think, yeah.
Sunshine is like so underrated.
It's the best, dude.
You grew up here, so you understand, like Buffalo in the winter, dude.
Seasonal depression's real, man.
It's real.
No joke. Yeah, it's that was always a struggle for me. I mean, so when it comes to those practices, if you can get sunshine in the morning right off the bat, that gives you a different. It's like an energy drink, dude. Like a healthy energy drink alternative. You know, it's just like, what is it? Vitamin D.
Yeah.
See, when you get that vitamin D, and you're just like, I don't know, it wakens you up, and then that also helps. Like, I guess they say like your body has like, you know, natural peaks and trough of melatonin and your sleep circadian rhythm. So when you wake up and expose yourself to that light, I think it wakes you up and gets you ready for the day. So I'd say that's a big one in my book. Cold showers when needed. But yeah, again, I like to just get up, and if I have a to-do list for that day, you know, I like to keep it brief, like maybe go for a quick walk and then try and dive in and get stuff done that I need to get done. Because I've found in the past, like I said before, like sometimes I'll have this checklist of like disciplines in the morning, and then next thing I know, it's noon, and I'm like, I haven't done anything. I've worked out, I've done a cold shower, I meditated, you know, I've walked, all this, and it's like, then I stopped and got a coffee. It's like you're just doing stuff to do it. You know, it's kind of in vain in a sense.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to have balance there, I guess, in a nutshell, if
totally
that answers your question.
Do you know who Lex Friedman is?
Is that someone from East Aurora?
No, he's a podcaster.
No, I don't think so.
Did you down your coffee already?
Yeah, I'm fucking tweaking right now.
So Lex Friedman, he is a scientist. He's a robotics scientist. He goes on Rogan quite a bit. He's pretty well known in the podcast world. He's he talks to Andrew Huberman a bunch.
Cool.
But he kind of, I came across one of his videos where he did like a day in his life, because usually it's just podcasts, and he only did one of these videos. But he was saying how he time blocks, and for 2 portions of the day, there's 4 hours where it's uninterrupted work, no matter what. Like, you're going to sit down and focus on the work that you have to do, no interruptions at all. And he said that having those 2 separate 4-hour time blocks of uninterrupted work has been one of the key to productivity. And I can definitely see it. I mean, I have struggled to do that, but I've been debating whether or not I want a time block. But like you said, it's a balance, and you don't really want to just do shit to do shit. You know?
For sure. Actually, I just read a book called Deep Work that relates to that a lot, and definitely recommend it if you're interested. I know you like those kind of books.
Yeah.
That book's all about, I'm trying to remember the author. Can't remember off the top of my head. But Deep Work, the concept in the whole book, the theme is that as humans, you know, we have a limited amount of willpower and, you know, focus throughout the day. Every day you wake up, you have so much energy, you know, to do X, Y, and Z. And the whole book is about, you know, figures in history and the present that, you know, the human brain, you can accomplish amazing things, and these people did it by going deep and going deep in ChatGPT. No, but yeah, getting deep on stuff. So like that concept you just said, like 4-hour uninterrupted time is super important. I think what the book would talk about is like, you know, as we mentioned before too, like you have so many distractions, like your phone when you wake up and stuff. If you can be, you know, unlike other people who are just like constantly prone to like, opening my phone and checking TikTok or whatever it is, you know, your mind's getting pulled in all these directions, and that harms your focus throughout the day. So the concept of the book was like, if you can go to a place and, you know, sit down, remove all distractions, and just do what you have to do for like 4 hours, that's better than like 8 hours of like interrupted work. Like you're gonna achieve more in that time. It's gonna be more valuable work because you're not exposing yourself to distractions.
Yeah.
So as far as time blocking goes, I've heard of that, and I think it's definitely a valuable practice. That's just kind of they have like the time throughout the day, and you just mark down all your little like to-dos throughout that time, and then like 4 hours straight is the idea. Okay.
That's his idea. I mean, he has a bunch of other shit that he kind of mixes in there, but yeah, for him it's 2 separate 4-hour time blocks. And I mean, this dude's a fucking genius. He's a robotic scientist, and like he's definitely operating at a much higher level than me. But yeah, let's kind of get in. You mentioned Chad and JT.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how Strider gave you COVID.
Oh yeah. We got to see them live in San Francisco. They're on, I don't know if they're on tour right now, but they were on tour, and they were doing a handful of free shows, a handful of ticketed shows, and they happened to be playing at a local bar in SF, the Bus Stop, free. So it was a free venue. You know, I saw that, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is once in a lifetime opportunity. Been listening to these guys for like 4 years. Love them. Like they're just provided tons of value, hilarious in so many ways. So yeah, I went with Megan, a few of our other friends, and this was crazy too, dude. So we pull up, and we got there, I was like, I'm gonna get there early because it's a limited size venue.
Yeah.
So we jump in line, and we're second people in line, second group, right? So there's one group ahead of us, and we get there, and the doors are locked. They had already let in like VIP people that are friends with the venue owners, people that know Chad and JT, X, Y, and Z. So the venue was already pretty full, and so the rest of the crowd, like the peasants, are in line outside, and I'm second in line, and we're waiting there, and it's got there early. We're waiting in line, and basically the bouncer lets the people ahead of us in. And then like 30 minutes pass, like 40, I think we were probably in line like 45 minutes. All this time starts to pass, and I'm like, dude, are we not going to get in? Like we're the second people in line right now.
Yeah.
And I started to get like nervous. I'm like, dude, I showed up so early. Like, I'm like, I have to see these guys. And we're just standing there, and I'm like asking the bouncer, I'm like, yo, like, are we getting in? He's like kind of like unsure. And next thing you know, like they're about to go on, and it's like about like whatever time it was. And I'm like, I pulled out a wad of cash. It was like, I think it was like $60. I'm like, to the bouncer, I'm like, you need to let us in right now, dude. He took the money and let us in. Like, we were the last people to get in. So
Holy
we got
shit.
in. There was probably like 6 or 7 comics there, all like amazing sets. They all crushed. Also, something I want to comment on, like when we were in line, we saw Chad, JT, Strider, all them show up.
Yeah.
And they like walked in the back. It is the weirdest thing, dude, when you listen to someone like through the internet on a podcast, whatever, to see them in person. It is the weirdest experience ever. Like, I was just like standing there and like, dude, you're so used to, like, you feel like you know these people because you've listened to them for, you know, so long, yet they have no clue who you are. And so I remember just seeing them walk up, and it's just like so bizarre because you imagine these people you listen to like, for some reason, you just like picture them all as like 6'8" and just like these like massive figures, you know, because you're just like so used to like looking up to them and listening to them. But yeah, that was just side comment, like bizarre to see them. But yeah, they all crushed, amazing sets and stuff. It was so funny. And then they hung out afterwards at the bar, and we got to like meet them and talk with them a little bit. And yeah, I got COVID from Strider. No, I got COVID. I don't think it was from him, but
it's a better story.
Yeah. It was. They definitely weren't sick. But you know, it was such a packed venue. I think Lincoln made that comment because I took a picture with Strider, and he's got his like hand on my shoulder. So it's like that's how it's weird. But wait, what were you saying?
I was like, that's the moment, that hand.
Yeah. I'm sure out of the like 200 people in the bar, someone was rocking it and spreading it. But yeah, that sucked, but otherwise it was amazing time, man. It's cool meeting people you look up to, you know.
Lex Friedman, actually, that same guy I was talking about, he talks about that concept a lot of having like one-way friends. And he says that some of Lex's best friends are one-way friends through reading books or listening to podcasts, watching videos, because you do really get a not obviously the 360 scope of a person, but you get access to a lot of information about one particular person, even though they have no idea who you are. So, I mean, when he said that, I was like, damn, I actually do have a lot of one-way friends, you know?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's a bizarre thing. Like, for the first time, you know, the past 10, 15 years since all this stuff came about, whether it's access to books through the internet by ordering them, whether it's podcasts, YouTube, all these platforms, you know, for the first time in history, anyone who wants to say something can get up and speak. So, yeah, it's wild, you know, it's crazy. That always boggled my mind to think about, like we have access to this information, whereas those like 50 years ago didn't. And I just feel so blessed to like be able to like, you can sit down and look up anything you want, man. And it's just like, boom, there's the answer. Or there's an influential figure like David Goggins, or what is his name? Lex Friedman?
Lex Friedman, yeah.
This guy, Lex Friedman, Huberman, whoever it may be that, you know, is, and hopefully they're credible and stuff like that, but like whoever you want to listen to, you can get value out of, and it's an amazing thing, you know.
It's definitely a blessing and a curse for sure.
Yeah, it's you got to know how to consume properly. I feel like that's something another that comes with it, is like, for the first time in history, we also have to manage how much we're consuming and like what we're listening to, and you know, and it's hard because like it's easy to like wake up and tune into the news, or like someone being negative, or you know, this or that, or just like start scrolling immediately on the internet, and it's just gonna damage your brain. So you have to manage that. I think it's a big push-pull balance.
Totally.
I think it's, you know, I always go back and forth. Like, is the internet and what it came to be, is it value, or is it good or bad? Like black or white? And I just like, I don't know. I think it's good. I just think as long as people start to figure out how to decipher like going about it, it's good, you know, but it can be negative. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Dude, I think about it all the time. I agree. I think it is net positive if like you were to weigh out everything. Definitely net positive. And for me personally, I relate it back to when I was at like my darkest moments. The only thing that kind of got me out of it, and really what jump-started my first blog, Popular Depression, that's how we met, and then the trickle-down effect from that. But it was from watching YouTube videos and listening to podcasts, and without those, I don't know where I'd be, you know?
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about.
The negative consequences, though, obviously, like you were saying, you do have to be consciously mindful of what you're consuming, how much you're consuming, and all that. But I think that our generation, and hopefully the kids coming up now can learn from us, because we were like the guinea pigs of the internet, kind of.
For sure.
We grew up almost at the perfect but worst time, because everything was changing so fast, and we got the full scope of the internet, besides like the very, very early days, but I should say social media, full scope of social media from starting on, what was it? Tumblr, MySpace, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat.
AIM, dude. Were you around for that?
AIM?
Yeah, it was like instant messaging.
Do you remember? Oh, man. What was the fucking, dude, Kick?
I don't know if I knew Kick.
Oh, bro. I know you know Kick.
How do you spell it?
KIK. Dude, that's how
Are you talking about
that's how I picked
Yik
up the fucking chicks in the middle school, dog.
Oh, okay. I was thinking about that Yik Yak.
Yik Yak was another one. Yep.
No, I don't know if I remember Kick, if I'm being
It was like black and green, kind of.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah. You're like, what's your Kick, girl?
Messaging, right?
Yeah.
I do remember that. Good call.
Yeah. But yeah, so we've seen it all, man. And we were the first generation to really go through every single phase of it. I just hope that now, what we know now about social media and the brain and the harmful sides of it, the next generation hopefully doesn't have to go through those trials and tribulations of figuring out like, what the fuck is this shit, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think, unfortunately, as much as you can like talk about it and spread like the good information, how you need to balance this stuff, I think it comes down to people individually figuring it out for themselves.
Totally, yeah.
You know, it starts with awareness, like knowing how to manage your daily life. Like you just got to realize, like I did, like everyone does. Like at some point, you're like, oh wow, and I still struggle with this stuff. Like I still, you know, like look at my phone too much. I'm like scrolling, and then I realize like I'm like all foggy and like feel like shit because I'm like looking at other people's stuff for like, you know, 20 minutes. And it's a few reasons why it's bad for you too. One of them being the brain has never been exposed. What happens is you have these different landscapes and images and things going on, and it's like regular human consciousness, the past however long humans have been around, was like very, like, I don't know if linear is the right word, but you know, you walk around and you are exposed to the same setting. And that's kind of how it should be, right? But when you open up your phone and then you're, like here's a video of a guy jumping off a waterfall, now here's a guy playing pool, here's a girl like tattooing, it's X, Y, and Z, right? It's consistent exposure to different settings, and what that does, it overwhelms your brain. At least I've read about it, you know, and so that's just something to watch. But
it's a different world.
Yeah, but to circle back to what I was saying, individually, you know, you just have to realize like you feel bad, and you got to understand why. It's like because you're exposing yourself to these, you're consuming in a harmful way. So once you have that awareness, I feel like that's step one, and then after that, like learning how to navigate it better, whether it means not looking at your phone for the first 2 hours when you wake up. It makes a difference, believe it or not. At least I think it does, you know? Like practicing that. So yeah, I think it's going to be a constant battle, but I think for the most part, people are tend to head in the right direction. I don't know.
I think so. I personally think that we're on there's going to be a breaking point at some point where a lot of society, or at least our generation, is getting a better understanding that being on your phone so much and just being involved in that world too much is harmful. And I think once you even take the first step of just being conscious of it, you realize that it fucks you up. And I go through it all the time. Like you said, I'm not perfect. Whenever I'm scrolling mindlessly and I catch myself, I'm like, I literally tell myself, I'm like, Kellen, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that's something I always think about. I even think about this when I watch like Netflix, a show or something. It's so funny, dude. Like you have this screen in front of you, and it's like, picture what you're doing right now. You're entertained by whatever it is, right, on a screen. But now, so say you watch a show for 3 hours, and not to like say that's like such a bad thing, you know, like we all like to relax and stuff, but like picture yourself watching a show for like 3 hours. Now picture yourself in that same setting, but the TV's gone. You're literally staring at a wall for 3 hours, dude. It's crazy. It's insane. Like
it really is.
You're spending so much time doing nothing. And you know, granted, I go back and forth, like productivity and like living, like it's hard to manage, but like, dude, sometimes it's too much. Like, you can't, like, if you sit there and watch 5 hours worth of TV, which I've done, which everyone's done, like, you're literally sitting there, like, staring through your screen at nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And I think if you have dreams, if you have goals, like, it's another thing that you just have to learn to manage. Like, you know, time, that's a topic I like to talk about, is like, time is limited. Like, whether you realize it or not, like, we are all going to get old. Our time isn't forever. And that's something that I think is a bit of a little epidemic, is I think a lot of people walk around believing like they can waste time and they're going to be around forever, but you're not. It's crazy. That's something that motivates me a lot, is like looking at, you know, super old people and just like really in your core realizing like, dude, you are, if you're lucky, going to be there one day.
Yeah.
And like, that's crazy. Like, you can just sit there and look at someone and you're like, you have to like really feel it. You're like, I'm going to look and feel like that one day.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out of energy and out of time, dude. And it's like, that is highly motivating. And that's why, like, sometimes you just got to realize, like, staring at a wall for 3 hours isn't the best bet. Of course, it's good to relax. Like, I love to watch movies with my family and stuff and like hang out. But, you know, if you've got aspirations and ambition, you've got to realize that that stuff needs to be managed.
Totally. Know? And like you said, if you're lucky to get there, like that,
it's not even guaranteed. So.
I know. And I actually think about that a lot. Like, it is an absolute blessing to get old, you know, because it's not guaranteed and you can't really guarantee anything. Kind of tying back into the social media world a bit, for me specifically podcasting, the more I've done them and the more I've practiced and the more conversations I've had, I realized that I think everyone would benefit from having a podcast.
Yeah, I feel like it's a form of therapy in a way. You know,
totally.
You just get to talk it out, sit down, you focus for an hour or however long. That's important. You know, you sit down and just one-on-one, like, that doesn't happen too often. But just from being here, I do feel good. I'm like, wow, we can just talk about whatever we want, you know, try and provide some value if we can. But at the end of the day, it's therapeutic just to like talk it out.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's cool. It's cool stuff, man.
And gaining just so many different perspectives. I think that's the big part for me. Just hearing other people's stories and kind of where they're coming from and trying to learn from everyone that I talk to. I think if everyone had a podcast, the world would be in a much better place, because, like you said, you're sitting down, talking to someone for an hour uninterrupted. And if you do that 100 times or 200 times over your life, that's 200 hours worth of conversations that you wouldn't have had with 200 different people.
Yeah.
You know?
It's cool stuff, man.
It's crazy.
It's like that quote. It's like, when you want to attract someone or something into your life, you know, you make your garden. You make your garden really nice. And it's like you work on your garden, and obviously it's like metaphorical, speaking to your own life, but you know, you plant all these flowers, butterflies come through, and like you have this, you know, sick garden. And then when you start working on yourselves, then the good things that you initially wanted might start to come into your life. But even if they don't, you've still got a garden.
Totally.
And so to relate that to the podcast thing, even if we sit here and you put 200 hours into a conversation with different people, the end of the day, like, you just have these awesome bonds and connections that you at least got to conversate about, you know?
Totally.
And so that's just like a good way to look at it, is like, at the end, like, that's the concept you just mentioned, if you're lucky, like, to live that long. It's just a matter of like looking at something and be like, and seeing the good in it, you know? Dude, I gotta pee really bad.
That's all right.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I have to pee so bad.
Yeah, go piss. All right, welcome. Whoa, my headphones are way too high. Welcome back. We just took a little piss break and got some waters. Ate an apple, ate an orange. Dude, never knew I would love oranges so much, but those
ripped.
Dude, nothing like a little vitamin D. Or vitamin C, sorry.
Thank you.
All right, where should we pick up?
Where'd we leave off? I don't know.
We could talk about beehole tanning.
Yeah, it's every day. Got to do it twice a day.
You've done it, actually.
Yeah, I have.
Do you feel benefits?
I don't know.
I really want to try it, because I feel like you would feel.
For anyone that may be wondering, the idea is if you spread eagle facing the sun and tan your taint, it apparently has boosts in testosterone. So it's supposed to like up your testosterone. It's supposed to give you energy. courtesy of that podcast I mentioned before, Going Deep. Chad's a big beehole tanner, so
big advocate.
I've tried it a few times. I don't know, dude. I always wonder because like I think a lot of times stuff can be placebo.
Yeah,
you know, but you know, I guess anytime I'm exposed to the sun, I do feel better, and if I'm bronzed, I feel that's the best ever. Like,
it really is.
So,
and your skin gets tan. Like,
it's the best, man. There's no better feeling than like a righteous bronze.
Yeah,
just like, dude, you look better, you feel better, every aspect of your life improves.
It really does. Like, it really does.
Like your confidence goes up, like everything. It's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting that good bronze. I haven't bronzed in a while, man.
Let's talk about life in SF now.
Yeah, dude. It's cool. It's it's cool being quote unquote independent from home. Like first time I've lived outside of Buffalo. We've been there a little over a year now. It's came with struggle. It's been awesome. It's interesting. I think it's for me the biggest thing. Like it's always been a huge pipe dream to live by the ocean. Like that was just like, if you told me like how many years ago that I'd be living by like 15 blocks from the ocean, I'd be like, dude, like you're a liar. It's just like a pipe dream, like I was like, it just seemed out of reach and it just wound up happening. I always forget what's the word for when things happen, like
manifest?
No, maybe I'll think of it. Anyways, it just kind of happened and it worked out. And now we're, close to the beach. It's decent weather most of the time. SF is notoriously foggy, so it's not always sunny. That's a big like misconception I feel about Northern California. Like you get there and like, sometimes you're wearing a jacket. Like you've been there plenty, I'm sure. Yeah, you've been to all around the Bay, right? You got
I pretty much, that was like a second home, the Bay.
Yeah. So, it's not always like warm and sunny, but you get that mild weather, and then there's sprinkled some really sunny days in there, and then there's foggy days. But it's great, man. I mean, again, pipe dream. Like I can't believe we're near the ocean. It's cool. I get to learn to surf. That's been awesome. Such a like struggle. It's the hardest thing in the world. Hardest thing I've ever done.
Snarfing, dude.
It's just it's beautiful though. Like there's a book out there. I forget what it's called, but I haven't read it, but I know it's about surfing as a religion. Like, and it's fully serious. Like it's one of those things that, it's very difficult and people find meaning in pursuing it every day and trying to get better. That it boils down to giving your life meaning. Like if you can go out there and not quit and try and get better, it's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
And not only that, you're out there exposed to the elements. So you're connecting spiritually with like the ocean, the sun, like all this stuff you're exposed to. Sea life, sharks, bruh.
Dude, fuck that. I was talking to Connor Broad. He came on the podcast the other day.
I love that dude.
He's the fucking man.
He's one of the funniest people.
He is, man. He is. He's such a cool dude. Yeah. And he was talking about, because he fucking rips skis and like, we were talking about how he's an adrenaline junkie, and he went snarfing for the first time I think last year or so, and he just got hooked. And then like his third day out, I forget where he was, but the waves were gnarly and the wind was crazy, and it was like him and three other dudes. They were like 8 to 10 feet, and Connor, like, him, he's like, oh, I can do it. Yeah. So, dude, he went out there with like a few other people and he was ripping. And I think some people just have it. Like,
yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I think some people do definitely just have it. I think it's a misconception to say that like anything like snowboarding and skating translates. Like I think there is a level of translation, like, but the crazy thing about that is like, dude, it's just, there's so many micro adjustments that you can only figure out and learn by getting out there as much as possible.
Yeah.
My cousin who taught me a lot in the get-go, I haven't surfed with him in a while, but he always said, shout out Timmy, he's the man. He's like, dude, you are going to suck for the first year. And that's it. Like, you're just going to suck for the first year. It's going to be frustrating, you're going to get upset. And I have, but he's like, but once you get over that cusp, like, it's a beautiful thing. So I remember we surfed Ocean Beach the one day, and, Northern California is like quite cold, and, you're wearing wetsuits and all that. And we went out to Ocean Beach. Like, it's a pretty advanced spot, and, you know, I'm still a beginner, so I was out there. I just got past the lineup and just kind of hung out. Like, I wasn't really, I think it was like a 4 to 6 foot day, so it's like pretty big. And I wasn't really even like trying to drop in too much. Like, cause I got shook up one time. We'll get into that like a month before that. But we went out there, like we all kind of got skunked, and we leave. he goes, you know, we could just go home, fill our bathtubs with ice water, sit in it, and hit ourselves in the head with hammers. It'd be just as good. It was so funny, man. It was like such a good quote. Sit in the tub, ice tub, and hit yourself in the head with a hammer. That's what it is sometimes, dude. It really is. I mean, like, to get into that, what I just mentioned, like a month before that or so, we went out at Ocean Beach, and shout out Nick Tarantino. He's another dude there that I surf with often. East Aurora native, and it was me, T, and Timmy, and originally I was going to film them with my drone, go out, get some shots, and then I was going to paddle out and meet them out there at Ocean Beach. And, so they paddled out. I went to take off my drone, and I realized I like forgot the remote or something stupid, so I couldn't even fly it. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I like put myself back in the car, got my board, and I paddled out. Couldn't find them, and it was a big day. I think it was 6 to 8 that day, which is huge, dude. Like, it's no joke. And got out there, couldn't find them anywhere. Got out past the lineup, and I was just kind of sitting there, you know, hanging out again, like out of my element. I had no business being out there whatsoever, which is bad. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be out on a day like that, and I didn't. And basically, a good rule of thumb when you're out there is always keep your eye on the horizon so you see what's coming, right? Because waves come in sets, and you want to not be too far inside because you can be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I was kind of just like, I don't know what I was doing, dude. I was like kind of paddling around, like trying to, because there's a current, so I'm trying to like stay where I paddled out, and I had my back turned, which you don't do, and I was a bit inside, and I turn around, dude, and I just like, I am in the worst, like the crash zone, the worst spot you want to be. Yeah. So what happens when you're out there is like, what you want to try and do is paddle back out towards the horizon to the outside and beat the wave. Like, so you got the wave coming towards you, and you want to get over it before it crashes. Because if it crashes on you, like that's no. You don't. So
what happened to me in Huntington?
Yeah. So I tried to get through, dude. Didn't make it. They call it going over the falls. And so I went up, takes you, you know, and these waves are 6 to 8 feet. So it's picture that height, and it just chucked me backwards about 8 feet through the air. You fall onto your back, and then the wave, you know, with tons of water pushing you down. And dude, I went down. I spun around probably 3 or 4 times underwater, got completely disoriented, and I also didn't have a great breath to begin with. Yeah. Got completely disoriented and didn't know which way was like up, right? I had my eyes like kind of closed because they're underwater, and I start swimming to what I think is the surface, and I'm swimming like sideways, dude. And so I start to panic, and I'm like, remember, I have my leash. So, dude,
I'm getting like, I can't even think about this.
This was terrifying, dude. And I felt, and I found my leash, and so I start to come up, and I'm like, dude, I'm like about to breathe in water. I'm like, I need air. Like, I had no oxygen. Came to the surface, like gasped for air, dude, and like within like 3 seconds, another wave was just right there, and it landed and pushed me back down. And again, this one was less disorienting. I got spun around less, and then I kind of remembered like the best thing to do in that situation is just go limp until you know it passes, and then you can kind of find the surface. So I went limp, dude, and I like, again, was needed air, came up, grabbed onto my board, and just, dude, I was pale as a ghost. Megan was waiting on me at the beach. After that, I paddled in, which is a challenge at Ocean Beach because you have to, again, paddle in without getting caught inside, right? So you have to time it right. And so paddled, you know, I'm exhausted. Dude, she said when I walked up to her, she said I was like white as a ghost. And I was shook, man. I was like, I really did like, think like for a moment I was like, I felt like I was gonna drown, like completely. And
bro, my palms are sweating.
Yeah, it sucked, man. But that was just a lesson learned, dude. It was just like, don't go out on days like that. Like, it's too big. Like, I have no business being out any bigger than like 4 to 5 feet. Yeah. And yeah, so that was a lesson learned. Keep your head on the horizon, you know.
For real, dude. When we went out the first time in Huntington with Timmy, bro. You guys got out past the break, and I was just getting. I don't even know if you guys saw me, but I was getting tossed, just constantly. And I don't like the ocean to begin with. I like the beach and being around the ocean. I don't like going in it.
Yeah.
So surfing is just not for me.
Dude, people don't realize how hard it is.
It's the hardest thing ever.
It's very frustrating. Like, I won't mention a name, but I was talking to someone from East Aurora about it, and we were watching big wave videos, and he's like, oh, dude, I would just swim to the surface. And I'm like, I don't think you realize, like, so like when I got crushed on that wave, that was like 6 to 8 feet. That's like, for many people, like a normal small day.
Yeah.
For big wave surfers, dude, 15, 20 feet, like, you go down, and that's like, you know, there's a very good chance if you don't know what you're doing, like, you could drown. And so it's just like so frustrating to hear that. Like, dude, that much volume of water like swishing you around, you feel like your limbs are being pulled apart
for real
sometimes.
Dude.
But yeah, people don't realize it. It's like such a misconception. Like, when growing up, I was like, oh, it's like, oh, dude, surfers, like, chill, like, chillest thing ever. Like, you just go out, like, and look like a G, like, get all the girls, like, all that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it couldn't be farther from the truth, dude. It is so gnarly. Like,
it really is. Kind of hard pivoting, but
sure.
I realize that Peyton is done.
Yeah.
Before you commit to that, just realize that you can't go to yoga anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you're gonna have new skin on, and you don't want to be in a 90-degree room sweating your balls off, having a fresh ink with like. So just think about that if you wanna.
You don't think I can still send it?
I don't. It's just not worth it.
I've done it before.
If you do, just don't get the skin, the new skin.
What is the new skin?
So when you get a, you know that shit that they, like the fucking, you get the fresh tat and then they put that piece of layer over it.
Yeah.
That, when you sweat, and you know hot yoga, you're sweating like a fucking pig. So you're going to get a lot of moisture coming through your skin into that new skin. So it might fuck it up a little bit. Dude, I mean, you could just go old school and get it and not have the new skin. I think you'd be all right. But
maybe I'll take tomorrow off.
I always rule of thumb. I just don't. I just take a few days off. But
yeah, about a week past. Maybe I'll just take I wanted to go 7 days in a row though. Balls.
If you go if you take 2 days off and then take the new skin off, you should be all right.
Yeah, I think Peyton's too talented to pass up the opportunity. So I think I got to send it.
Yeah, I agree. We can rip for a little bit. Her next one's at 2:30. So we got a little bit of time. Let's dive into man. Yeah. Let's do that. Let me get a quick little note, and then we'll switch over.
Yeah, sure.
So in 3 years, we will no longer be going to Indonesia because you can't fornicate legally if you're not married.
I don't even know if that's gonna happen,
bro.
Sure.
There is no chance that they are going to be able to
enforce.
Yeah no, like
silly.
You're telling me that all the tourism there and all the hostels, no one's going to be shagging? Like, you're out of your mind.
For anyone wondering, the government I don't know,
Indonesia, the very corrupt government.
They put a bill or passed a law or something that in like 2 years or something that you cannot have sex before marriage. And
anyone,
it's a big topic of discussion there because, with Bali specifically, tourism is a massive part of their economy, and that may or may not drive people away. But
you're good.
Excuse me. Again, I think how they enforce that, dude.
There's no chance.
Yeah,
there's no chance.
That's whatever.
Remember when we got pulled over by the cops and we had to pay our way out of it?
Yeah, dude. Traveling abroad, especially Southeast Asia, from our experience, I think a lot of times, they profile people, tourists, and if you're cruising around on a moped there and you haven't gotten your what do they call that? Foreign license.
Yeah. And you're not wearing a helmet either.
Yeah. Well, dude, I got pulled over after that.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
But we'll finish this quick. So Kellen and I were cruising, and they just flagged us down. They're like, let's see your foreign license or whatever. Obviously didn't have it. And what did he say? He's like, all right, you owe us this much money or whatever. And we're like, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's this or go to court. So, the officer is just pocketing that money very blatantly. Like, he's like, but we're, what choice do we have? They're just abusing that power. But that happened that time because we were idiots riding on a moped, no helmets. I don't think I had a shirt on.
Dude, this whole story of why we had to do that.
Oh, was that? Were we going to the?
We needed to get something scanned or something because we had to extend our visa.
Right, yeah.
And then a side story after that, when we go to the fucking office to extend our visa, we run out of gas on the on the like throughway or whatever they are.
That was so funny, dude. That was so bad. Yeah, but dude, so that happened. We got, paid whatever. It was some stupid amount, like $30 or something US, and that happened to me again. I don't know if you remember me telling you this, but I went on like a little solo mish to this like cool abandoned amusement park to like take videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And on my way back, and side note, I had lost my debit card. I know you remember that because you had to pull money out for me every time.
5 million baht.
Yeah, no, baht was Thailand.
Rupees.
Yep. So I'd lost my debit card and I was on my way back. This time I had a shirt on and a helmet on the moped, and I just get flagged down, dude, by like, a group of officers like step out into the street in front of me. They're like, pull over. So I like pull over. I'm like, what's going on? Same thing. They're like, let's see your foreign license. I'm like, don't have it. This time he's like, all right, like get your wallet out. And this might have not been the exact exchange of words, but he's like, open your wallet. And I opened my wallet, dude, and he reached in and just took everything out of it. And I said to him, I was like, listen, dude, like I get what's going on here, but I lost my debit card. That's the rest of the cash I have for the last week that I'm here.
Yeah.
And he's like, he looks around, he's just like, hands me back like the equivalent of like $7 US.
Oh
like,
my
thanks, dude.
God,
he probably
dude.
took like $50. I mean, I didn't have much, whatever it was. But yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, dude, it was ridiculous. And
really
like,
was.
you have no power. It's just like insane. You're like, what can you do? You're not going to court, like,
right.
for whatever reason. So lesson learned, I'm pretty sure it's super easy to get your license.
Yeah.
That's what my buddies said.
Yeah. To wrap that thing up, that trip was unbelievable. And I'm so glad we did it at the time we did.
Right.
Could not have been better timing.
I know. That was insane. We were in Thailand right when COVID started. The first couple cases came out.
In Asia, though, because in the States, like, everyone in the States was chilling. They didn't. Right. It wasn't a big deal. But I remember we were flying from Thailand to Australia, and everyone was freaking out.
Yeah, we stayed one step ahead of it until it got, of course, real bad. That for me, you went to Tahoe out of Australia.
Yeah,
and I got super lucky because, again, we were both very low on money, and that was part of the reason we wanted to leave COVID, and we were both pretty much broke. And I got lucky because we had plans to go to New Zealand, but you bowed out and went back to Tahoe. And then I was lucky because my family had an exchange student from like when my folks were in high school, who was from New Zealand, and they hadn't been in touch. I don't know if they hadn't been in touch, but they haven't seen each other since then. So what is that, 40 years?
Yeah.
And I knew about this guy. I'd never met him, but I dropped him a message on Facebook when we were in Australia. I was like, hey man, you don't know me, but I'm Mark's son. You lived with my family, like all that for a year. I just want to know if you'd like to get coffee. I'd love to meet you. And he replies, he's like, hey Nolan, like, your family took such good care of me. The O'Connors back in, it was a senior year of high school. So it was like 84 or something like that. I'd love to host you for the whole time you're here in New Zealand. And it was like, dude, shout out to such an awesome dude, and met his whole family, put me in, let me stay with them, cruised me around. Like, I was broke. Dude. Yeah. I had no money. Like I maybe had like $200 to spend on my credit card. Like I had like maybe like $20 in my bank account. And then like my credit card was pretty much maxed out.
Yeah.
Like, I was in trouble.
Yeah.
And, so he helped out a ton, dude. Got to stay with him. Had an awesome, authentic, like local experience. Learned a ton about like the culture there. Really cool. But then COVID really started to ramp up, and I think our OG plan was to try and live in Hawaii.
Yeah,
we had our flights booked all the way one ways back to Oahu. Got to Oahu, and it was like March 6th. So I left New Zealand. You were already in Tahoe. And I remember I had no money. I had enough for one night in the hostel, and I was there like another 5 days. Yeah. I was like in trouble. And COVID, it was right before lockdown on the 14th. So that was another reason I was in trouble, right?
Yeah.
And our original plan was like maybe get a job when we get there. So shout out my friend Tyler Bach. We met him in Thailand. I don't know if you got to meet him personally, but he lives in Hawaii, and he let me stay in his dorm until my mom bought me a flight home. She's like,
Damn.
you need to come home. Like, COVID is so bad. So got home, like 3 days later, we went into lockdown. And
That's
that was
fucking
that was
crazy.
a wrap. Everyone knows what happened after that.
I wanted, dude, I was really trying to hold in some laughter I had because we need to talk about your experience with that family in Australia and that kid, dude.
Oh my God, dude. So,
Bro,
this is a good piece of advice too, because if you're interested in backpacking anywhere, and it's like, of course everything costs money. A good idea which the route we went down was, there's a program called Workaway, and you sign up. It costs like $50 to join, and you can go through. And there's different families in different countries willing to host you, give you a place to stay, and feed you in exchange for work around their property. And K-Man and I were trying to extend our trip as long as possible. And so when we got to Australia, I got in touch with these people through Workaway, and it was a farm. And basically they were like, this is the ad. It's like, we live on this beautiful farm. It's this beautiful like farm. There's a place for you to stay. All this, like all the bells and whistles and all that. It was like a fucking movie, dude. I like get there. And these people were great. It took a minute for us to get on the same page, but I'll get into that in a second. Get there, dude, and like, oh yeah, you're staying in the trailer, on the edge of the woods in Australia, outback or whatever. Well, I guess it wasn't the outback, it was Queensland, but still it was very rural, and so get there. I'm like checking this thing out, dude. Fucking dude, I shit you not. Like every night, I found a fucking spider like that big in the space that I was sleeping.
Fuck
and
that.
there was bats that would come and they would land on the roof at night, dude. And they were massive, just like these huge bats. Oh, it was really like a really tough time. Like I remember I was texting my dad. That they told me I would have Wi-Fi to communicate with others staying there, but I was not, of course, not in the house. So I would have to like hold my phone in like the corner to get one bar and to communicate with my folks. And I was texting my dad. I was like, Dad, dude, like I don't know if I can do this. Like this is not what I thought I signed up for. And he was just kind of like talking me through it, and I was glad I stayed. It really, the worst that night when I was texting him, what happened was, they advertise like, oh, you get fed here, like you have food. But there was a bit of a disconnect on communication because, believe it or not, like people, even though they speak English in Australia, like their accents can be really hard and their lingo is really hard to comprehend. Like they would call weed whackers whippersnippers. Trucks are called utes. Like they have an infinite amount of lingo, just like we do for words. So like he's like, oh yeah, you get in the ute. I'm like, what, dude? And so big disconnect. And the one night they were cooking dinner, and I was like hungry as a human being becomes around 7:00 at night. And I'd like worked that day and done all the yard work and shit. And I went inside and I was like, hey, like. I just kind of like stood by and I saw they were cooking, and I was like, can I help out or anything? Like, no, it's all good, all good. And so they set the table and they put out, there was like, it was like a family of like 4 or something, and they put out 4 plates, and I'm just standing there, and I was like, so I was just like, it was like really awkward, and I was like, they're making like steaks, all this like nice food, and I was just like, hey, like, should I grab a plate? And he gave me a weird look, and he's like, no, I thought I told you to fend for yourself. But he meant it in a nice way. He meant just help yourself to whatever you need. But in that moment, I didn't comprehend it as like that. I just was like, it came off to me like as a dick move. And so I was like, oh, it was super uncomfortable, super awkward. And I was like, oh, okay. So I went back to my trailer. I didn't realize he meant just like get whatever you need for yourself and cook for yourself.
Yeah.
And so I went back into the trailer and very hungry, very upset. I'm like, what the hell, dude? So it was a mango farm. So I went into the garage, grabbed a bunch of mangoes, and just ate like 3 mangoes for dinner and just went to bed. It was brutal,
Bro,
man.
Can you talk about, didn't you have to like wrangle a goat?
Oh my God, yeah, dude. So the farm, these people were great, man. Like in retrospect, it was such an awesome experience. And like, even in the moment at times I was like struggling, like when I look back on it, it's like some of my favorite memories because it was just so unique. They owned this farm and they had an Airbnb off the property. And so they would host people for Airbnb, and it was like a unique stay. You could like go pet the farm animals. They had like goats, llamas, chickens, ducks, quail. Trying to think what else. They had like 4 dogs on the property. All these farm animals and stuff. I think horses. Oh, and pigs and goats. So they had like everything, like the whole 9 yards. And the woman, this was also another cool part of it, was super pregnant. She was like, dude, like weeks. She had the baby when I was there.
Damn.
And she was, so she was like about a week out from having this baby, right? And she's like pretty much like hobbling around everywhere. And these people that were staying at the Airbnb were coming around to, excuse me, to like check out the animals. And I'm with her, like doing some work in the goat pen or whatever. And dude, a goat starts choking on like whatever it was eating, like choking. And this thing is like gonna die. It's like, you can like see in its eyes, like it's like choking to death.
Yeah.
And so this lady's like, Nolan, grab the goat. And I'm like, she's pregnant. And I'm me. I'm like, oh. So I'm like chasing this goat, trying to catch it while it's choking to death, dude. And I'm like, I would like wrap my arms around it and try and wrangle it. And it would slide out from underneath my arms, dude. And then this woman, dude, 9 months pregnant. She was such a badass, bro. She grabs the goat, dude, like while she's pregnant, and literally just reaches down its throat and just yanks out and the goat was good. It was crazy. And this all happened while these Airbnb folk were just like watching. Like they were just like, whoa, dude. Lord. But it was cool, man. I got to I would wake up, I'd pick mangoes. There's other girl that was doing the same program. She was really cool. I forget where I think she was from Oregon. She was really cool to meet. Got to hang out, like met some different people, picked mangoes, cleaned up after the animals, fed the animals, all this stuff. So it wound up being a cool experience in retrospect. So work away, dude. If you're ever looking, whoever's listening, like to backpack or do something inexpensively, like it can be worth it. You can make some cool connections. It's an affordable way to travel. I remember one guy had an ad. He's like, I live on a sailboat and I need like someone to help me out on the boat. So it was like literally like you would go and work with this guy on his boat and live on the boat. I applied for that one, but I think he was looking for females.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He shot me down pretty quick. I think it said like female. What's the word? Like whatever.
Yeah, that's how Workaway is how I found the Tahoe hostel that I worked and lived at.
Yeah.
But yeah, tying everything together, and then we can get into psychedelics a bit, and then after that, I think we should wrap up. So you can.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, dude, Australia was amazing. I want to go back so bad. And that one night when you came and hung out at the hostel I was at, and we went out, dude. I love Australian people, man. They're so funny.
Yeah, dude, I saw a really funny video the other day. It was like from a girl's perspective. It was like what I expected the boys to look like when I moved to Australia. It was like all these like suave like surfers, like bronze, good looking dudes. Then it was like, what are they actually like? And it's like, dude, these dudes with like mullets back, like shaved their whole head with just back hair, like on a farm, bro. It was so funny, man.
Australian people are the best, dude.
Yeah, they're a good time. For sure.
Shout out Jerry and I forget the other homie's name, but whoever, dude. I remember we all woke up in the hostel.
Oh, you're talking about the guys from the hostel?
Yeah, bro. They're just crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, let's pivot a little bit.
Yeah.
Talk about psychedelics for 5 to 10, and then you'll get yadded.
I wanted to just get in the narrative about them that I think is, I think throughout history, like people have kind of had a bad outlook towards them. So I just wanted to get your opinion. I wanted to talk about the book I just read, anything like that.
My opinion on them, I think they're very beneficial, used the right way.
Right.
Used the wrong way, obviously, just like anything, could be detrimental. But I'm all for them. I'm pro psychedelics.
Yeah, I just read the book, How to Change Your Mind, Michael Pollan. Michael Pollan's a pretty renowned author. He's wrote, I don't know how many books, but some good ones about diet, about health, and he spent, a ton of time diving into the world of psychedelics, whether it's psilocybin, LSD, DMT, and I think the other one